The moment Jasper leaped onto the stage, time fractured. The music stopped. The applause froze mid-clap. Confetti hung in the air like suspended snowflakes. In an auditorium packed with hundreds of eighth graders and their families, not a single breath was drawn. Eyes locked on one figure, no two. The school's K-9 officer, a German shepherd named Jasper, and the man standing at the podium, Principal Harlan. Mr. Harlan stumbled back, barely catching himself, his best principal ever. Mug falling to the floor and shattering. Jasper stood firm, chest heaving, muscles taut. He didn't attack, he didn't charge, he just stood, between the audience and the man everyone thought they knew, and let out a single thunderous bark, then another, louder, sharper, faster. Not wild, not confused, focused. Every inch of the dog's body screamed one thing: something's wrong. His eyes locked, unwavering, on the inside pocket of Mr. Harlan's jacket. Parents exchanged glances. Students whispered. Teachers froze mid-smile. Officer Miller, standing at the foot of the stage, called out once, "Jasper!" But the dog didn't flinch, didn't blink. He was trained for narcotics, for lockdowns, for emergency drills. But this wasn't training. This was instinct. This was warning. And Jasper never barked unless someone was in danger. Only 2 days earlier, the school buzzed with the joy of summer's arrival. Kids signed yearbooks, posed for selfies, counted down their final hours in middle school. But not everyone felt the celebration. On a concrete bench by the gym, a girl named Emily Carter sat alone, hoodie pulled tight over her knees, eyes darting toward the administrative building. No one had signed her yearbook. No one invited her to any parties. But that wasn't why she sat in silence. Not entirely. She'd learned how to hide, how to shrink, how to vanish into hallways and bathrooms when footsteps got too close. That day, Officer Miller had approached, her with Jasper trotting beside him. The dog had wagged once, then tilted his head curiously toward her backpack. When he gently sniffed her wrist, she flinched. Barely. But Jasper noticed. He always noticed. And somewhere, watching from a window, above, sipping coffee from a mug with his own name on it, Mr. Harlan noticed too. But his eyes weren't on the crowd of cheerful students. They were on Emily. Now, as Jasper barked at him in front of the entire school, a question echoed through the auditorium louder than any bark could. What had Jasper found? No one could answer. Not yet. But what happened in the next few moments would unravel a secret buried beneath years of silence, and expose a truth so dark, it would shake the entire town of Mill Creek forever. Two days before Jasper's unforgettable bark, Mill Creek Middle School was a hive of energy. Lockers slammed like drumbeats. Yearbooks passed hand to hand, adorned with Sharpie hearts, inside jokes, and awkward doodles. Eighth graders, drunk, on the promise of high school freedom, buzzed through the halls like bees cut loose from their hive. But not Emily Carter. She sat on a cold concrete bench near the gym, knees drawn up to her chest, her hoodie stretched low over her wrists. The chatter and laughter washed over her like wind on glass, heard but never felt. She wasn't invisible, just unnoticed. No one asked her to sign their yearbook. No one asked her to any parties, and no one noticed the faint bruise along her collarbone. Emily had grown used to the silence. It was her shield. Her eyes kept drifting toward the administrative building, not in longing, in fear. Something in that building waited for her, or watched her. She didn't know which feeling was worse. "Hey," came a gentle voice. It was Officer Miller crouching beside the school's K-9 unit, Jasper. The dog wagged his tail slowly, tongue lolling, gaze soft. "You good?" Miller asked, concern etched between the lines of his easy smile. Emily flinched slightly as Jasper stepped closer, sniffing gently at her backpack, then her wrist. Her body tensed, almost imperceptibly, but Jasper noticed. So did Miller. "He's friendly," Miller said softly, watching her more than the dog. "Trained to pick up on things that don't look right." Emily forced a small smile. "He's a good dog," She didn't elaborate, she didn't have to. Jasper tilted his head like he understood something even she couldn't say aloud. Then the bell rang. A tidal wave of students crashed through the courtyard. Laughter, shouting, hugging, yearbooks flapping in the air. Emily stood slowly, merging into the background like smoke into dusk. Jasper let out a single, short bark, not aggressive, just alert, and returned to Miller's side. Upstairs, behind a half-drawn window blind, Principal Harlan took a long sip from his best principal ever mug. His gaze wasn't on the crowd, it was on Emily. Mr. Harlan was the kind of administrator everyone trusted, eloquent, polished, present, always smiling at PTA meetings, always visible at sports events. He ran the school like a tight ship, often saying, "We don't just teach here, we protect." Parents adored him, teachers respected him. No one questioned the late nights he spent in his office, the locked doors no one else had keys to, or why certain students, like Emily, became quieter after every private meeting with him. Emily's mother thought her daughter's fear of staying late at school was just social anxiety, a phase. She didn't ask why Emily always insisted on being picked up early. She didn't see the way her daughter's hand trembled when she walked near the administrative wing. The day before the ceremony, the school was a blur of rehearsals and last-minute decorations. A slideshow of baby pictures was queued up on the auditorium projector. Rows of folding chairs were carefully aligned by student volunteers. Faculty bustled like stagehands preparing for a play. Mr. Harlan supervised it all, clipboard in hand, charm in every step. Emily watched from afar. Always from afar. When the rehearsal ended, students scattered, squealing about dresses, plans, parties. Emily stayed behind. She lingered near the lockers, waiting for the halls to thin. That's when she heard the footsteps. Slow, confident. Turning the corner, she saw him. Principal Harlan walking alone. He spotted her, smiled. "Shouldn't you be home by now?" he asked, his voice dipped in sugar, wrapped in ice. "I'm just waiting for my mom," she replied quietly, shrinking into her hoodie, of course. He nodded, stepping closer. "You've been doing okay this year, haven't you, settling in?" Emily nodded, eyes on the floor. He tilted his head. "Anything you want to talk about?" She didn't answer. He stepped even closer, too close, and then, sharp claws on tile. Jasper's paws echoed down the hallway. Officer Miller appeared seconds later. "There you are," he said casually to Emily. "Your mom's out front." Emily darted past both men like wind through a gap in the fence. She didn't look back. Jasper stared up at Mr. Harlan, and for a brief moment, the man's mask slipped. Just a little. His eyes narrowed and his smile faltered. Jasper didn't bark. Not yet. That night, Officer Miller sat in his patrol car parked outside Emily's apartment complex. He wasn't sure why. Call it instinct. Or maybe he'd learned to trust Jasper's reactions more than most people's words. Inside the apartment, Emily sat at the dinner table, barely touching her food. Her mom scrolled through her phone, pausing, now and then to sigh. "You okay?" she asked without looking up. "Yeah, just tired." But Emily didn't sleep that night, and neither did Jasper. The auditorium smelled like fresh balloons and fading printer ink. Rows of foldable chairs stretched across the gym floor like a chessboard. The walls were lined with posters made by 7th graders. "Congratulations, class of 2025. Each, one covered in glitter and misspelled names. A baby photo slideshow flickered on a projector screen, casting ghostly light over the audience. Parents filled the aisles with bouquets, cameras, and tearful smiles. This was supposed to be a perfect farewell. Middle school ending, high school on the horizon. Emily Carter sat in the 4th row. Her hoodie sleeves balled up in her fists, her knees pressed together so tightly they ached. Her foot tapped uncontrollably against the gym floor. She didn't look at the stage. She looked at the side exits, clocked them, memorized their distance. Jasper sat near the edge of the stage beside Officer Miller. He wasn't relaxed. The German shepherd kept shifting his weight from one paw to the other. His ears twitched at every laugh, every camera click. His nose kept rising, lowering, scanning. Searching Officer Miller leaned down and whispered, "Easy, boy." But Jasper didn't settle. When Principal Harlan took the stage, everything shifted. He stepped behind the microphone with his signature calm. Navy suit, perfectly tied tie, that ever-present mug of coffee in his hand, though he never seemed to drink it. "Good evening, parents, teachers, and students," he began smoothly. "Today we gather to celebrate." His voice echoed through the space, warm and rehearsed. But Jasper stopped listening. His head jerked upward, his eyes fixed on Harlan. Then he barked, once, loud, echoing. Heads turned. Principal Harlan paused, mid-sentence, his eyes flickering toward the dog, then quickly back to the crowd. Jasper barked again, louder, urgent. He lunged, not aggressively but with precision, up the steps of the stage. He ignored Miller's call, ignored the commands. He was trained to obey without question. Instead, he planted himself between the principal and the audience, his back rigid, tail stiff, and hackles raised. Gasps rippled through the auditorium. Emily froze. Her hands clutched her seat. Jasper wasn't just barking anymore. He was locked in, eyes trained on Harlan's inner jacket pocket. He scratched at the stage floor with one paw, low growls vibrating beneath his breath. "Officer Miller," Harlan said through clenched teeth, still forcing a smile for the crowd. "Please remove your dog from the stage." But Miller didn't move. Neither did Jasper. The room descended into murmurs. Was it a drill, a stunt, some kind of farewell prank? Miller stepped onto the stage. His face was pale, lips pressed into a line. He reached for Jasper's leash, clipped it on, and whispered, "Down." Jasper didn't budge. He leaned forward instead, nose almost brushing Harlan's pocket. The growl grew deeper, sadder, like a wound opening. Miller straightened. Something in his gut twisted. "Sir," he said, his voice calm but loud enough for the front rows to hear. "Mind emptying your pockets for me?" The question sucked the air from the room. Principal Harlan blinked. He chuckled. "There's nothing in my pockets but my phone." He reached into the side of his blazer and pulled out a sleek black phone. Held it up. Jasper didn't react. Miller frowned. "Other side, please." A long pause. Then slowly, too slowly, Harlan reached into his inner pocket. His hand emerged holding something small and metallic. A flash drive. "What's that?" Miller asked, voice flat. "Just some old administrative files," Harlan said, smiling. "Nothing exciting." "I'd like to take a look," Miller replied. Another pause. Then, reluctantly, Harlan handed it over. Miller slipped the drive into a plastic evidence bag. "Thank you." Jasper finally stepped down, but his gaze never left Harlan. The principal's smile cracked. The ceremony ended early. Parents were told it was a technical issue with the projector. Students shuffled out in clusters of confusion, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. Emily didn't wait. She slipped out the side door, alone. She didn't even glance back. That night, Officer Miller sat in his kitchen, staring at the flash, drive like it was ticking. Jasper lay at his feet, calm now but alert, watching, as if waiting for something he couldn't name. Miller inserted the drive into his laptop. A single folder appeared. Archive. Inside, subfolders, each one labeled with dates, some going back 3 years. He clicked the first one. Inside, video files, silent clips, poorly lit, shot from corners of rooms, surveillance angles. But this wasn't security footage. The first video opened to a view of what looked like the nurses. Office-out girl, 13 maybe, sat on the edge of the bed, crying. Mr. Harlan entered the frame, sat too close, offered her a tissue. Miller slammed the laptop shut. His stomach flipped. His hand shook. Jasper let out a quiet whine and nudged his leg. Miller looked down at him. "You knew," he whispered. Jasper blinked slowly. The next morning, Miller drove straight to the precinct. The flash drive sat on the passenger seat in an evidence bag like a live wire. No doubt remained. There would be no ceremony that could mask this. No mug of coffee to hide behind. Principal Harlan wasn't just inappropriate. He was a predator, and Jasper had seen it before anyone else had dared. To look. Officer Miller sat in the conference room, knuckles white around a plastic evidence bag. The flash drive inside seemed to burn through the table. Around him, senior officers from the precinct reviewed the contents silently, eyes wide, faces frozen. In grim realization, the videos weren't random. They were categorized, date-stamped, labeled by initials. Some of the subfolders bore students' names. Some simply said things like Session A3 or Room 14 Febby. Miller spoke first. "I need this sent straight to cybercrime. This isn't just misconduct. It's premeditated, coordinated, possibly blackmail material." He hesitated. Possibly worse. The room stayed silent. No one wanted to say the word, but it hung in the air anyway. Predator. By midday, the FBI had been called, and by nightfall, Principal Harlan was gone. He didn't come to school the next morning. Didn't answer. His phone, the navy blue Toyota Highlander he always parked in his reserved spot, never showed. At Mill Creek, a new announcement played over the intercom. Principal Harlan is taking a temporary leave of absence. Vice Principal Landry handled announcements. That day, he looked shaken. The students looked confused. The staff looked scared. Rumors flew like sparks in dry grass. Did Jasper attack him? Was he hiding drugs? Why'd they end the ceremony? But no one had answers. And Emily Carter, she hadn't returned to school. Her mother said she was sick, but Miller knew better. He drove to their apartment building that afternoon and knocked. The door opened just enough to reveal Emily's mother, pale, tired, the weight of everything pressing down on her shoulders. "Officer Miller, we're not really up for visitors," she said gently. "I'm not here to push." He replied, "Just wanted to check on Emily and to thank her." "Thank her?" She echoed, confused. "For being brave," Miller said. "Jasper only reacts when someone's in danger, and that day he wasn't barking at the principal. He was trying to protect your daughter." The woman went still, then without a word, she opened the door wider. Emily sat on the couch, legs crossed, holding a worn stuffed lion. She looked up, her eyes landing first on Jasper, then on Miller. "I didn't tell him anything," she said quietly. "But he knew. He always knew." Miller crouched beside her, and Jasper wagged his tail just enough to make her smile. "You don't have to talk about anything you're not ready for," he said. "But if you're willing, what you say could help other girls. Could help them feel less alone." Emily nodded slowly, then whispered, "He made me promise not to tell." "Who did?" "Mr. Harlan." Miller swallowed hard. "He said I'd be expelled, that my mom wouldn't believe me, that he had photos. He said no one would believe a weird girl with no friends." She looked down. "But Jasper believed me." She buried her face in the dog's fur. That was the turning point. Within days, more students came forward. Jenna, a volleyball player, said she quit after too many office check-ins that made her feel sick. Marcus, a quiet boy from homeroom, said he once saw his friend walk into the nurse's office crying and leave completely silent. More videos were found, more flash drives. One was hidden in a ceiling panel in Harlan's office. Another inside a hollowed-out dictionary in the staff lounge, each one worse than the last. Dozens of video clips, different kids, different rooms, different years, sometimes just conversations, other times more. It became clear. These weren't trophies. They were a system, a record, notes in margins, timestamps, names. Emily's name appeared on 2 folders, Jenna's on 1. So many others remained unnamed. The FBI seized every device, every record. Harlan's email history revealed encrypted messages, some sent to himself. They were titled, Things like confidential for records only or Carter behavioral notes. One message stood out. No dad, lonely, already depressed. Miller stared at the line, his hands shaking. This wasn't just grooming, it was cataloging, like he was building a database of vulnerability, a blueprint for exploitation. The public statement came quickly. The school district expressed shock and heartbreak, announcing that Mill Creek Middle would remain closed until further notice. They offered counseling, support. But for students like Emily, it wasn't enough. She had spent months afraid to speak, to even hope someone might believe her. And now that the monster had been dragged into the light, another weight settled on her chest, the weight of those who hadn't spoken yet, and the haunting thought, how many more were there? That question echoed as national media descended on the small town. The story hit every headline. Hero K9 dog uncovers school scandal. FBI investigates predator principal. Brave girl breaks the silence. But behind the articles were real kids, real trauma, and one real dog who refused to look away. In the weeks that followed, Jasper became a local hero. He appeared on TV, on posters, on stickers that read, "He barked for the voiceless." But to Emily, he was just Jasper, the dog who listened, who believed her when no one else did. It had been 10 days since Principal Harlan vanished. His house stood dark. Mail overflowed from the box. His neighbors said he left for a conference in Seattle. The police knew better. They issued a BOLO, be on the lookout, across 3 states. But tracking a man like Harlan wasn't easy. He knew how to disappear. He had done it before. At the Mill Creek Police Department, a temporary FBI task force set up camp in a windowless back room. The walls were papered with printouts, photos, maps, bank statements, surveillance logs. At the center of it all, one face. Detective Anna Reyes stood beside Officer Miller, her finger tapping a red dot on a map. "We got him on an ATM camera here," she said. "Boise, Idaho. Used a debit card linked to a burner account. A motel 2 hours east confirmed a match by face. Checked in under the name Mark Dews." Miller folded his arms. Jasper sat at his side, ears twitching. "So we're 2 steps behind," he muttered. "For now," Reyes said. "But he's sloppy, desperate, and he wasn't alone." While agents hunted for Harlan, another discovery surfaced. Forensics confirmed that the video network Harlan used had been upgraded just 6 months before his employment began. The contractor, a man named Raymond Epps, he wasn't on staff photos, never listed as an employee. But his name showed up repeatedly on vendor badges, IT tickets, and service logs, not just at Mill Creek, but across multiple schools. "Who installs surveillance equipment?" Reyes said slowly, "and then disappears." They began digging. Epps wasn't just a contractor, he was a ghost. No social media, no digital footprint after 2014. His driver's license photo was 10 years old. But one detail stuck. He had access. Unrestricted, unquestioned. Security cameras, file, servers, student databases. Miller rubbed his temple. "You think he was the real brain behind this?" "I think Harlan was just the mask," Reyes replied. "This guy, he built the stage." Emails retrieved from the flash drives showed coded exchanges between the 2 men. Lines like, "Systems in place, you have full access," and "Just be smart about it this time." The implication was terrifying. Harlan hadn't just stumbled into temptation. He'd been supported, enabled, protected, and someone had done it before. Then came the breakthrough. A tip from a woman in Missoula, Montana. She claimed a man matching Harlan's photo had applied for tech support work at her local community center. Reyes moved fast. At dawn, 2 unmarked SUVs pulled up to a cabin 30 minutes outside town. Snow clung to the tree roots. Smoke drifted. From the chimney, the air was still. Inside the vehicle, Jasper sat rigid, eyes forward. "This isn't a drill," Miller whispered, clipping the leash. Reyes gave the signal. "Unit 1, move in." Officers moved quietly, boots crunching in the snow. Reyes knocked. "Police, open the door." Silence. "Mr. Harlan, we know you're inside. Come out with your hands up." A light flicked off. Jasper growled. Miller unclipped the leash. "Search." The dog vanished into the cold. Seconds later, one bark, sharp, echoing. "Back door." Miller shouted. They sprinted around the side. There, behind the cabin, lay a half-dug trench, a tarp, a hidden storm hatch. They descended into darkness. Inside, canned food. A cot. A man on a crate, hands up. It was Harlan. He didn't speak. Didn't resist. As officers cuffed him, Jasper stood on the steps, tail thumping once in the dirt, like he'd always known it would end here. The arrest made national news. Fugitive principal captured by K9 hero. Dog who exposed predator helps bring him in. The people of Mill Creek gathered outside the shuttered school, holding signs. "Justice for our kids." "Thank you, Jasper." Emily watched it all from her living room, and for the first time, months, she smiled. But even as the town exhaled, something didn't sit right. At FBI headquarters, Reyes sat across from Harlan in an interrogation room. Gone was the polished principal. He looked hollow now, thinner, unshaven. The man who once controlled the narrative now stared at the floor. "We know what you did," she said. "The videos. The files, the encrypted emails." He didn't reply. "But what I want to know," she continued, "is where you were before Mill Creek. There's a 5-year gap in your employment. No records, no trace. That doesn't happen by accident." "Still nothing." "You had help," she pressed. "Who helped you disappear? Who else is part of this?" Harlan looked up, cold and calculating. "You're not going to find them," he said. Reyes didn't flinch. But outside, she told Miller, "He's not alone. This goes deeper." Miller nodded. "Epps? He's the key." More evidence pointed to it. A crawl space in one of Epps's former rentals revealed a cache of hard drives. Dozens, each labeled with a city, a year, a school. Mill Creek was one. Clear. View was another. A school 30 miles away where Jasper later reacted to a hidden trail camera. But others, Nevada, Arizona, Oregon. Some of the schools had since closed. Some had burned down. Most had no surveillance archives left. Someone had been scrubbing data for years. Reyes stood in the middle of the evidence room, shelves stacked with drives behind her. "This isn't about one man," she said. "It's infrastructure. It's a system." And then the pattern came. Into focus, Epps moved from district to district installing security upgrades. He left behind silent watchers, cameras in places they shouldn't be. Most never noticed. Or if they did, they never asked questions. Because he wasn't the face. He was the shadow. He gave predators like Harlan access and cover, and when the heat came too close, he vanished. The day after Harlan's arrest, Jasper did something strange. During a review of an old evidence file Reyes had just carried in, he barked, once. Then again, not aggressively, just like he had on stage. Reyes froze. Miller's voice went, "Quiet." "That's the scent," he said. "The one from the assembly." They flipped open the file. One name stood out, Raymond Epps, and next to it, a new lead, a utility bill. From Utah, the hunt wasn't over. The snow melted. The news cycle moved on. But in Mill Creek, the echoes of Jasper's bark still lingered. Emily Carter didn't go back to public school. Her mother enrolled her in an online program, but her healing didn't come from books. It came on quiet Saturdays, walking Jasper in the park, brushing his fur on the porch, sitting in the same silence that used to scare her, now made safe by the soft rhythm of paws beside her. "He doesn't see me as broken," she told her mom. Once her mother had smiled, eyes wet. "He sees you as brave." A week later, the town held a small ceremony, nothing fancy. Just folding chairs, a podium, and a banner. "To those who protect the voiceless." Detective Reyes spoke first. Then Miller. Then Emily. She was taller, now. Her voice didn't shake. "When Jasper barked at Mr. Harlan," she said, "he didn't just save me. He saved everyone who never found the words to speak." She paused, eyes on Jasper, who sat calmly beneath the podium, wearing a new badge on his vest. He didn't just find a bad guy, he found me. The room stood in silence before the applause, and Jasper, he just wagged his tail. Later, as the crowd mingled and hugged and cried, Reyes pulled Miller aside. "Still no sign of EPS," she said. "Interpol's watching movement in Europe, but nothing solid yet." Miller looked toward Jasper. "You think we'll ever catch him?" Reyes shrugged. "Maybe not, but we made him run." They both watched as a cluster of kids knelt around Jasper, petting him, taking selfies, placing heart stickers on his vest. "Do dogs ever know what they start?" Reyes asked. Miller smiled. "I think Jasper knew the second he saw Emily. He didn't need evidence. He just saw her." In the months that followed, new protocols swept through the education system. Anonymous reporting platforms, independent surveillance audits, trauma-informed training for all staff. But more important than policy were the questions being asked, the conversations, the shift, not because of a law, but because of a bark. On a golden autumn morning, Emily and her mother took Jasper on a walk through a newly opened public garden. The one built where Mill Creek Middle School once stood. It was quiet, peaceful. A plaque stood at the entrance. It read, "In honor of the voiceless who found their voice and the dog who helped them speak." As they walked, Emily glanced down at Jasper. "Do you think it's over?" she asked. Her mother didn't answer, and neither did Jasper. He just looked up, alert, ready, always listening. But this story isn't done. Somewhere out there, Raymond Epps is still a name without a face in custody. And Jasper, he hasn't stopped searching. In our next episode, we follow the trail that leads beyond Mill Creek to the places where silence still hides in plain sight. Stay with us.